Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of In Distress, a podcast where I talk about nonsense in the comfort of my childhood bedroom. Welcome to this week's episode. First of all, I need to say this podcast is available in video and audio format, so it's always available on video on YouTube every Saturday by 5 p.m. Audio is always available by 7 a.m. It's always available at 7 a.m., honestly. And it's available wherever you can imagine listening to a podcast. It's even available on iHeartRadio app. And I don't know too many people who use that besides me. Anyways, let's address the first elephant in the room, being my voice. I do sound a little congested to me, and I'm pretty sure maybe to people who listen often. But I've been fighting a losing battle with my allergies so bad to the point I actually had to take a day off of work this week because, and y'all know I need to be at work because I'm about to get laid off my job and I don't get paid that much money anyways. I don't have benefits or anything, and I have bills to pay, and let's just say that my new job is not exactly on the horizon. It's not coming to me quickly. It's not expedited in any way. I am out here looking, I'm applying, but the jobs are not necessarily on my doorstep. Anywho, but yeah, I had to take the day off because if you don't know, I work with kids, and I just could not imagine a world where I'm being slightly annoyed by children, and then I'm also annoyed with my body for fighting back against my allergens. So I took the day off, and that was actually a really good day. I actually didn't want to go the next day. That's the one thing about taking a day off is that once you take that first day, you're just kind of like, I could do tomorrow. And I'm not going to lie, I really did want to do tomorrow. I was dragging all week, actually. I secretly don't know if I was ever on time this week. I think I was on time one day. Other days, I just be like 10 to 12 minutes late. But I took that day off and it just threw me out of whack. Anyways, the first topic of the episode, which is also the second elephant in the room, and it's going to be the thing that helps us start the cycle of the episode today, the TikTok ban. I think I definitely need to talk about this because I have a lot of thoughts, a lot of perspectives. First of all, I'm not going to pretend like I'm not kind of upset about this because for multiple reasons. The first being when the House passed the bill or was talking about passing the bill like maybe 3 weeks ago or maybe like a month ago, I think the Senate was like, oh, and people had to express outrage about it. The Senate was definitely like, oh, we have other things that we have bigger fish to fry right now, so we're not really going to be voting on that right now, so don't really worry about it. And then what they like to do in government is they like to slip in different things in other bills, right? So they had a foreign aid package going out for, I think, $95 billion, upwards of $95 billion of money going to Taiwan, Israel, and in the Ukraine. And in that bill for the foreign aid package, they slipped in the TikTok ban, and then they passed that on a Saturday. And I believe Biden signed that either Sunday or Monday. And I'm going to first of all say that I'm very upset about that because it's really upsetting that a lot of these politicians think that they have a chance of winning an election without TikTok. And some of them do. Don't get me wrong. There are some politicians who do actually have a chance of winning without TikTok. I think that if I'm going to be super honest and I'm going to be transparent, I don't know for certain if I believe Biden can win without TikTok. I think that a lot of the decisions that he's made in the past few months, especially regarding Palestine and Israel, I think have really turned a lot of young voters especially off from him. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this because I mean it and I really feel it, but I never really wanted him to run a second time. Like, I didn't want him to run for re-election because if I'm honest, I didn't really know if I wanted him to run the first time. I think that Biden is obviously and has been known for throughout the entirety of his career as being a bipartisan person and a compromiser and somebody who goes across the aisle. And I'm not saying that I don't think that that's a necessary thing to be sometimes. However, I think that he compromises, and I think that sometimes a lot of politicians, especially when it comes to the Democratic Party, compromise too much. And I'm not gonna lie, like, when it comes down to it, like, if you're thinking about like people you know or like young people, you know, you think I like people who stand on what they mean. Like, I like people who stand on, like, I believe in this, and so I'm gonna keep writing for that. Most people like people who stand their ground in something, who stand up for something, who advocate for something, who have something to believe in and stand for it. And to me, it's really hard to believe in people who are, for lack of a better word, flip-floppers. And I think that that's how Biden has come off to me. And that's how he's been packaged and sold to voters anyways. But I don't love the idea of having a president who's always willing and so easily willing to compromise, because that's not what the other party's doing. Like, you can say whatever you want about the Republican Party. They typically don't, like, if they are saying no to something, they say no. Like, they're like, I'm not going to do that. And not only that, but I'm going to block whatever you send through until you let me have my thing. And I can't be mad at that strategy. Like I said, they stand 10 toes down on things, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm voting for Trump or I'm voting Republican, because that's not something that I do. I'm going to go out there and do what I need to do. At the same time, though, I'm not at all pressed or upset about people voting for a third party candidate. Like, whatever happens from here. Like, I think that Biden has made a lot of mistakes in the past few months leading up to the 2024 election that he's not going to be able to walk back. There's honestly nothing that President Biden can say right now at this time to make up for the things that he's done over the past few months. There's nothing that can be said about that. There's nothing that I can say about that. There's nothing that anybody on TikTok, that anybody on Twitter can say for people who have made up their minds that genocide is where they draw the line in the sand. Like, there's nothing you can do about that. And I think that that's what's so upsetting, is because even on top of that, on top of you've made bad decisions, poor decisions over the past few months, I think adding on to that with the TikTok ban, and the TikTok people were going to be the people who were going to get the young people out to vote, and, you know, maybe try to do that last minute, like, emotional appeal, get some of that pathos on your side, you know what I'm saying? Some of that, not ethos, because you ain't got that, king, but they were going to get some of those emotions on your side, and the TikTok ban is burning that bridge badly. It's like, you've shown us what's important to you, and that's it. Hard stop. You've shown us what's important to you. It was important to you to get rid of this TikTok app that we all like and we all enjoy, and we were communicating on and all of that stuff. And that's really what the problem is because we were coming together on that app. That's really what the problem is. And the people who are going to be advocating for you and we're going to be reaching out to people that didn't live in their state, didn't live in their town, didn't live in their county, they were going to be reaching people through TikTok, and you do this. I think that that's a misstep. I think that this TikTok ban and the support of a genocide, those two things together, to me, are on the same level as that Hillary Clinton email story getting out a week before the election. I think that this was that pivotal thing in an election that determines whether or not how this is going to go. And I think that I really do think, I don't want to believe it, but it's not looking great. And I don't really know how you get young people. I just don't know how you get the votes that you need after this. I don't know how you do that. And if he's able to do that, cool, great. Living under another Trump presidency for me is difficult and would be very hard because a lot of Trump's ideologies and beliefs go against everything that I am. All of the intersections that I am. Black, woman, a part of the LGBTQ plus community, like fundamentally goes against everything that I represent and believe myself to be. So writing's on the wall on this one, I think. But anyways, back to what I was supposed to be talking about. I won't pretend that I'm not upset about the TikTok thing, but at the same time, it's been like I've really been working hard on there, and I've been getting the views, and I've been getting more engagement, and I've been building communities, and I've been having really great conversations on there. I've actually been talking to people in the comment section of my videos and discussing things and opinions, and it's actually been very productive this week. I typically don't have a productive week in the comment section, but people have been like willing to listen to what I have to say, and I've been willing to listen to what they have to say. And I've talked to some, like, at least 3 good people this week that have been like, it was nice to have a conversation, and it wasn't just like, we were open to hearing each other and not being so close-minded or whatever. And I thought that was really nice. I think that those are the conversations that give me hope that even like we can have differences of opinion, and, we can still have a conversation about that and talk about that stuff. And it can be an eye-opening conversation for me. It can be an eye-opening conversation for you. And it's really just great. I love that. But like I said, I won't pretend I'm not upset about it. Like, my videos are doing really well. And it just feels like everything in my life this year has just been like gradually, as things start getting better and going up, there's something that's like, ooh, back down. And it's really, that sucks. At the same time, though, that I'm pressed about TikTok likely being gone over the next few months, I really hope and don't think that the owner of TikTok or whatever should sell it. I really don't. Like, I think when it comes down, obviously I've never created an app or anything, but I have this podcast, and I've created other things in my life, like songs and music, and I've created videos and other things on various platforms. And I think really when it comes down to it, when you make something, yeah, it's for other people, but I think that he should really be proud of this. I think he should really be proud of TikTok, and it's used all over the world, obviously not just in America. And I think when it comes down to like just creating something that's great and useful, I don't think if it were me in his shoes, I wouldn't give that up. Like, this was his. Like, he created a platform that had like an amazing algorithm that was perfectly curated specifically for the user using it. And I'm going to be honest, like, I think like if you sit here and take a step back and really think about TikTok, like, the fact that a platform could be created just and curated perfectly for you and have a lot of your interest in there, and just information about things that maybe you don't know or maybe you want to know more about. And he did a really great job with TikTok. And if I were him, I wouldn't sell that. Like, honestly, yeah, will it suck to not have TikTok anymore? Absolutely. But sometimes things just come and go. Like, Vine, That was here, gone now. I think TikTok is different because of the impact that it had on us, especially throughout like the pandemic and all of that. But at the same time, I think again, I really just think it comes down to like obviously what he wants to do, but I don't think that he should sell that. I really don't. I don't think just because Americans can't use it, it's that makes the product invaluable. Like he created an amazing product, an amazing app that people love. And again, if I were him, I would not sell it. Like if I made something that I'm proud of, I'm not doing that. So there's that. Let's see. I actually have other thoughts here. I wrote a lot. You guys should be proud of me because I'm so prepared for this episode. Y'all should honestly just give me an applause. Like, honestly, y'all should be screaming my name from the rooftop. I'm just kidding. But on an actual serious level, I do want to express like my gratitude for the app. As I just did, basically. But I'm just so beyond grateful. I was really thinking about this episode and I was like, what am I going to say about TikTok and what am I going to say about this TikTok ban? And I'm honestly just so beyond grateful to be experiencing and to have experienced a social media platform that while again, it's not perfect, obviously. But it's allowed me to become comfortable taking up space and using my voice and giving me the opportunity to build a community and a platform where I can be heard. And I'm not going to lie, like it's really nerve-wracking to come on the internet and like talk about stuff that excites you, like stuff that you care about, like doesn't matter your opinion on things. It takes a lot. Like even if only 50 people see it, maybe even if only 30 people see it, it's still like, oh my gosh, people are going to see me and they're going to hear my thought. And that's nerve wracking. Like it takes a lot. It takes a lot of courage to, I think, talk about anything and to share any part of yourself with anybody. And especially to do that on the internet or in front of a camera or whatever, to try to build a platform and get to know people and all that stuff. It takes courage to do all of that, I think. And I'm just really grateful for the opportunity. With that being said, one of my favorite things, obviously, to do on TikTok was making content. And I made a video earlier this week on there that I think I'm going to post on YouTube as well as some other content over here over the next few weeks, because I do have things that I was proud of creating over there. But anywho, sorry, got distracted. But I'm going to be posting some of my TikToks on YouTube, I think, because I do want to share some of those things. And I enjoy talking about politics and all that stuff. And I want to be able to bring some of that over here. But I saw a video earlier this week where I discussed in a stitch of, so a stitch, if you don't use TikTok, is basically like taking a little clip of a video and then adding your own opinion to something. So the video that I had stitched was of a white woman discussing an article review about how 75% of white people don't have one person of color in their friend group, but it was more so about how that plays a role in jury selection and the importance of not selecting implicitly biased people or non-active, not racist people, but seeking out anti-racist people. So basically saying to the people out there, to the white people out there who 75% of don't have a friend that's a person of color, there's likely implicit racism there. Like, they're not actively not racist, but they're also not seeking out being anti-racist people. And I remembered during the Black Lives Matter movement, which I ended up talking about in the video and bringing up here. But during the Black Lives Matter movement, I remember the conversations that were being had, especially on Black Twitter, about how kind of asking like white people why they weren't having conversations about race, and really asking some Black people why they weren't having conversations with their white friends about race. And I ended up seeing a comment that I'm going to put on the screen. And it was basically about how superficial white friend groups can be. And I've said this before and I'm going to always say it to preface my experience in America, but I grew up in the suburbs of Georgia, and so in a predominantly white area, and I went to school with a lot of white people and all of those things. And when it comes down to the conversation or the question during the Black Lives Matter movement about why Black people weren't having conversations with their white friends about race, I had been wanting to say this for so long and never did. And I was glad that I finally did, because a lot of people were in the comments talking about it and having conversation. And I obviously love that. I think that's important. But the reason I personally was not having conversations about race with my white friends in middle school and high school, whatever, is because, to put this lightly or to put this straightforwardly or whatever, I didn't need to have the conversation. Like, I already knew what they thought. There was rarely ever a time where I just felt like I just, boom, need to talk about race with my white friends, because, you grow up, and this was kind of a really hard thing for me to understand, especially during that time, during the Black Lives Matter movement, during the pandemic. You spend years with a lot of the people that you grow up with, right? Like, you spend 3 years in middle school and then 4 years in high school. I spent the better part of 7 years with these people, not only growing up with them and coming into our own together and figuring out some things in life and going through stuff socially and figuring out the internet and like trying to learn what we're doing and trying to get into college and studying for tests and doing projects together. You do all of these things together, and I'm going to be honest with you, sometimes race kind of fades when you're not talking about it. It really does at times. Like, there was never a moment when I wasn't like, oh, I'm not Black. That's not what I mean. I mean, like, when you're just around people all of the time, you're just not really thinking about it as hard as as maybe you once would. And I did in the future. But at the time, it was just like, these are just people that I've always grown up with. These are people that I've known. Like, obviously, you go around their families and you hear certain things and you hear certain comments, and they talk about how you speak and how articulate you are. And you don't immediately clock that as a microaggression. And later on in life, you think back to those things and you pick up on them. But it's still, at the time, there's no need for me to have a conversation about this or to bring this up to my friend, because I already know what you're thinking. I've heard you talk about this stuff in class. I've heard you talk about it when we're talking about books like the Poisonwood Bible and what it looks like for white families to go to Africa and trying to spread their religion. Okay? Like, I think about it when I was reading a book by Zora Neale Hurston in my AP literature class, Their Eyes Were Watching God. And I'm hearing white people analyzing a Black book, but they don't necessarily have all of the context. They don't know what colorism is. It's me and one of my classmates, the only two Black people in the class, explaining what colorism is. It's all of those things. It's those discussions about race that we're having in class. It's those discussions that we're having about slavery. We're having about abortion. We're having about gun control. It's those conversations. I don't need to ask you outright what you think, because I already know. I know some people are going to say that that's not fair to let people talk about it or to explain it or to have those discussions. But there are times when I don't need to know what you think because I've overheard your parents' conversations about stuff. Like, I don't need to know that. Like, I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying that it's fair that growing up, Black children, especially living in the suburbs, or a lot of children of color, have to grow up and learn depending on who they're around and where they grow up. I'm not saying that it's fair that at an early age they have to learn how to just coexist with people who don't agree with them or don't ever see the flaws in the privilege that they have in society. Like, it's a tough lesson to learn and at a young age, but I also think it's a really important thing to encounter and engage at a young age. I don't think that I am the way that I am without that experience. I don't think that I think the way that I think. I don't think that I live life the way that I do. I don't think that I experience the world or view the world in a certain way without that experience. Like, yeah, it definitely sucks to know or to have a very strong feeling that the people that you're around and you've grown up with don't at all care about how your life would change depending on who's in the president's office, like the Oval Office. Like, yeah, it sucks to know that your friends probably, if they didn't know you and grow up with you, maybe would avoid you because they don't really know you like that. And because of your skin color. Yeah, that sucks to know that. At the same time, though, I think that it's something that unfortunately every child who is a person of color they have to learn that. They have to encounter that. It's just, unfortunately, it's just the way that it is. And I think that it's important to encounter that at different times in your life so that you can navigate what that looks like. And for me, it looked like, okay, I've grown up with white people around me all of my life. I want to go to school with Black people. Like, I want to have Black friends. That was actively something that I wanted when I was picking my college. Like, I was like, I want to go to Georgia State. It's in Atlanta. I know there's Black people there, a lot of Black people there. It's not, I didn't want to do too much and like go from going to a predominantly white school and then going to an HBCU. I thought that would have been culture shock. I don't think I would have made it out alive on that one. I'm going to be really honest. But I went and I applied for, the school, and I got in, and then I was picking my roommates. I want to live on campus. And I was like, I need Black roommates. And I chose my roommates, and they were both Black. And then I met my friends who have been my friends since freshman year of college, and we've gone through the pandemic together, and we've graduated together, and we've been through a lot of personal things together, and we've cried together and laughed together and grown together. And I'm so grateful to have had Black people in my life and to have Black people in my life. And obviously I've always had my Black family, but again, it's just important, I think, to have friends that look like you, honestly. But at the same time that I'm saying it's important to have friends that look like you, I think it's important for white people to have Black friends. Not just because of the article that was spoken about in the TikTok about implicit bias and people being non-active, not racist people. But I also think it's important because at the end of the day, you're going to encounter other people who don't look like you. Like I have a lot of Black friends and I hang out with mostly Black people. My family's Black. When I go to family gatherings, it's Black. When I go out to get dinner though, mostly white people. When I go to Walmart, when I go to Target, mostly white people. When I go to work, mostly white. Well, actually where I work, technically it's Black people, but in the town that I work, it's a lot of white people. So it's important to have white friends. I had white friends. I know how to engage with them. I know how to move around them. I feel okay-ish around them. Like, I understand, like, I have friends that are white. I have friends that are Black. I just have friends, okay? It's important, I think, for white people to have Black friends because, again, you're going to encounter people that look different than you in the world. And it's important that you know how to engage with them and how to interact with them. And I actually think that there was somebody, the woman in the original video that I stitched, which I'm going to link in the description as well. I believe she talked about how and even like a lot of people in the comment section were talking about this, how they didn't realize how, I don't want to say caged because that's not the word to use, but I think a lot of people didn't realize how narrow their worldview was about race and about other things until they got to college and had like a world issues class or like a cultures class or something where they have those hard conversations because they're forced to. And I was like, that is so interesting and so necessary. And I really hate that it takes a lot of people getting to high school in order to have those hard conversations, because for a lot of people of color, and especially for Black people, because that's the experience that I've had as a Black person, like, you don't really get to not have those hard conversations at some point. Like, even if you're just having those hard conversations internally, you don't get to not have a conversation about how you feel around white people. You don't get to not have a conversation about how you just feel in a space. Do you feel comfortable? Like, are people like, are they like giving microaggression-y? Like, are people being like slightly racist? Like, are people being heavily racist? Like, you don't get to not have that dialogue in your mind. So honestly, if I'm like being really real, I think it really sucks that a lot of people don't realize how narrow their worldview is until they get to college and have to have those hard conversations, because a lot of people of color don't get to not have those conversations. But back to what that lady had said. She had said that, and that's all I can think about right now. But back to the original comment, there were a lot of times in my white friendships that I just really felt alone in my childhood, because there would be things that happened that I wouldn't feel comfortable being able to talk about. I remember the day that Trump got elected, me and my one Black friend who were in the little gifted English class or whatever, I remember staying up that night waiting for the election results to come in and realizing that Trump was going to be the person to win. I was doing my math homework and I went to sleep that night, and I was just sad. I remember I cried myself to sleep, actually, and then I remember I went to school the next day, and me and my one Black friend, we were just really upset that day, because it's like that realization that this is what America is. Like, you grow up thinking that, America is about dreams, and that's what you're taught in school. You're taught that propaganda that America is this great country and all of this stuff. And then someone like Trump gets elected with ideologies that go against almost everything that you are. And you have these people that you've grown up with almost all of your life excited about that, not even caring what that means to you, not caring what that means for how you look at life and how you live your life. And that's really rough. Like, I remember me and my friend but like I said, we were both upset, and our friends around us and our peers kind of being like, I don't know why you guys are so upset. Like, everything's going to be fine. Like, it's only 4 years. Like, whatever. Like, everything's going to be great. And it's like, you have absolutely no idea what this means for me, how I feel knowing this. The houses around me down my street, just house after house after house. Trump sign, Trump sign, Trump sign, Trump flag. It's like, wow. It's like being swallowed up by that. And it's that again this year. It was that in 2020. So like for the past like 9 years, like it's just felt like constantly suffocating to be around people that honestly, if I was on fire, probably wouldn't even spit on me. Very frightening that that's the world we live in. But I'm supposed to believe that, and Black children and Black people are supposed to walk around and believe that this is the greatest country ever and all this stuff. We don't experience that version of America. And it's really frightening to me that white people, one, don't care and don't even care at all to hear that we feel that way. But also, when we do bring up that stuff, constantly try to invalidate our experiences because it's not the version of America that they experience. But why would you experience that when you're the people who are in power? You're white. You're always going to be the one who wins. Of course, you're not experiencing the hardships of what it's like to be Black in America. Of course, you don't understand what that's like. And of course, you don't care about trying to figure out what that looks like either until you're forced to have the conversations in a classroom. And even then, you probably still I don't even know if you care. Even then. So it's like really tough. It's like, damn, I'm supposed to be excited about life and I'm supposed to be believing all these things about America and I'm supposed to be hopeful and hope that things are going to get better. And at the end of the day, I still ride down my street and it's just Trump sign, Trump sign, Trump sign, Trump sign, Trump sign. Constantly being suffocated in the idea that this is it. I'm not going to say there's nothing great here, but there are a few great things here. A lot of that greatness is being suffocated by racism and stereotypes and bias and all of that. So, yeah, like I was saying, those friendships they were hard because like it's hard to feel safe around people that you know don't really care about your experience and never ask about it. Maybe it's not even that it's a lot of times it really was that they don't even ask. Or like you don't feel comfortable bringing it up either. So it's like if you never ask and I don't feel comfortable, we're never having that conversation. And it's just rough to grow up like that. Like it's already hard enough being a teenager and not knowing what the fuck you're doing and being nervous and anxious and scared about different things. And then on top of that, there's that added level of bias, stereotypes, racism that you're experiencing and you're trying to overcome. And again, you're just trying to figure it out. You're trying to feel safe and comfortable and you're trying to grow up and live. And a lot of times I think that you just kind of block it out. And then once you get to a space where you can think on it and think back to those things and you get educated about that stuff, it's like, damn, life was a lot different than how I was experiencing it at the time. But yeah, that was super morbid. On to the next. I think this is my final thing about the TikTok ban. I wrote here, and finally, the last thing I want to say about this TikTok ban is that I'm kind of excited to see how this gets people to push the boundaries and themselves when the app is gone. I really am just like, I've been racking my brain this week wondering like what I'm going to do and what my life looks like after TikTok, because at some point, obviously, it's going to be gone. And I think that I'm finding more excitement than I am anxiety in that. Like, I think the answer to, or the solution to this app leaving is just like, keep imagining. Like, I was like, how am I going to get people to watch my stuff? How am I going to get people to get interested in other things that I'm doing? How am I going to get people to follow me on other platforms? And it's just like, you'd have to keep going. Like something I say in my job interviews. Sorry. My sister's bringing me a slushie. It's serious business. Anyways, something I say in job interviews, and probably to my detriment, is that I am driven by my internal need to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And that has become very clear to me over the past few months that I just have like passions for so many things. And I used to think that I would have to pick just one and focus on that. But that is just super limiting to think that you have to just pick one thing and only be that for the rest of your life. And I want everybody to know that listens to this or comes across this podcast, whether this is your first time listening to this episode or like your 100th time or whatever. But I think we all do ourselves a disservice by thinking or believing that the only way that you can be successful is just by being one thing. Like I love basketball and I always have, but I've allowed people in my life to stop me from pursuing things because they didn't believe in that dream or that goal that I had. And because I have opinions about basketball and I like it, I've started making content about it on TikTok, and I will continue to do that until the app's gone. But also, like, I'm going to be starting a podcast about basketball, hopefully. And I'm really excited about that because it's something that I love and it's something I'm passionate about. And I want to share my opinions and have conversations with people about basketball because I love it. And I love movies and TV shows, and I'm going to continue to review them the way that I have on TikTok. And I like talking about politics and advocating for people who can't and don't feel empowered to do so. And I will continue using my podcast to talk about those things. And I think overall, I'm just very grateful for TikTok. Sorry, I'm like really grateful for TikTok, even though people may think that like I just have a couple thousand followers. Like, yeah, I only have like over 8,000. And yeah, it may not be impressive or eye catching. We all have to start somewhere. And just like this podcast, it may not be listened to by 1,000 people. It may only be listened to by like 1 or 2 people. It may only be listened to by me. But I've worked hard for what I have, and I'll never be ashamed of the years I've put into this. I'll never be ashamed of the work that I've put into it. And I know it's easy to write content creators off and say that this is easy and all of that stuff. And I think maybe it is easy for some people, but it takes a lot to get the confidence to share things you've created with others, to be consumed and judged. And honestly, I still struggle with that, especially when it comes to newer endeavors or things that I've been doing for years, but are extremely vulnerable. I've really taken a look in the mirror this week, and I've asked myself, do I care what other people have to say about things that I have to say? And sometimes the answer is yes, other times no. I know what you're thinking. What does that have to do with what I just said? Basically, like I said, it takes a lot to be extremely vulnerable and talk about the things that you care about. And at the same time, saying that, sometimes you do have to like take a step back and ask yourself like, oh, it really is just about you standing on what you believe in and standing on what you're passionate about. Like, I'm passionate about this thing, and so I'm going to go out there and I'm going to say this, and I believe that, and that's that. And sometimes you have to have so much passion and courage and confidence in the stuff that you're saying that even when people don't agree with it and disagree with you and leave you hate comments, that it doesn't deter you from getting back on the horse or something and continuing to go. So yeah, I think that that's really important. And y'all, I'm going to take a literally 30-second break because my sister keeps texting me, and like I be telling that girl to stop talking to me while I'm making this podcast. Anyways, oh, that pissed me off. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is honestly just the pushback that Black men give Black women when they're sharing an experience or an opinion. And I don't want this to be taken as like I'm attacking Black men, and because that's not the intention. Earlier this week, I got on here and I was talking about Shannon Sharpe and how I really want him to succeed. However, sometimes when he's having conversations about Black women, when he's talking about his experiences with women on Nightcap, the way that he, and even like the way that the Amanda Seales interview went down. I'm not saying that Amanda Seales is like a perfect, like person or whatever, and everything that she said was 100% true and all that stuff. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that men can be very invalidating of Black women's experiences. And I don't think that's right. And I think that it's a harmful conversation to have. I think it's a harmful response. And yet, when I said that, I phrased it as I would really like Shannon to, if he's not gonna like have a better response to things than he is, like if he's gonna invalidate women's experiences, like if he's gonna make, I'm gonna be honest, sometimes I just hate the way that men talk about women. And sometimes he talks about buying women Birkins and how that doesn't make them stay and all that stuff. And it's a lot. It's a lot to unpack. I think that he's very knowledgeable about finances. I think he's very extremely knowledgeable about sports. I really enjoy watching him as a sports analyst. I love that. I think he's really great at it. Again, if he's not going to have like productive conversations with Black women and he's just going to keep spewing somewhat like a watered down version of like an Andrew Tate level situation with like the alpha male thing and gender roles and stuff. I just don't know if that's the avenue he should be going down. I think if it's going to be the same thing that we can hear from some random man on a podcast down the street, I don't really know if we need to voice that. I think maybe we should stick to sports and like analyzing the sports unless we're going to have like an actual conversation about stuff and be able to react to things differently. And immediately in the comment section were Black men talking about how you want him to only talk about sports and so what, you want to suppress Black men? And that's crazy. Imagine if a Black man said that about a Black woman. And then it went on to, we get pushback all the time on TikTok and Twitter, and Black women love to silence us. But when we try to have discourse, the woman blocks us. And it just became a lot. And then it was him talking about, and what is the right way to interview? Like, you're probably going to say something anti-Black. Y'all want to put Black men in a box so bad, shaking my head. And I find that response very interesting because, first of all, this isn't all Black men and how they respond. However, the second I give a critique to a Black man, all of a sudden I'm wrong. All of a sudden I'm wrong. Why am I wrong for giving a critique to a Black man? Because y'all do it every day. Y'all always have something to say about Black women. Not all of you, some of you. And from here on out, generalities is not all of you. And if I'm not talking about you, then don't comment nothing. Okay? You don't need to defend all Black men because I promise you all Black men do not deserve to be defended. Simple as that. So if it's not, I'm not talking about you and you're not going to add something productive to the conversation, keep it pushing. But I find it very interesting that whenever Black women give Black men pushback, it's always immediately, y'all are trying to silence us. Y'all are trying to put us in a box. Y'all are trying to do this, that, and the third. And what's confusing about that to me is this. And I'm not trying to attack you. I'm trying to have an actual conversation here. Black women are expected to give up things all the time in order to move the community forward. And not only that, like, we're just always having to sacrifice something. And that sacrifice is rarely ever acknowledged. But it also brings up the question of why would I want to stand in solidarity with people who invalidate my lived experiences? When we're talking about the Shannon Sharpe and Amanda Seales thing, when she said, I experienced racism as a young person and it was wrong and those kids were wrong for that, immediately the response was, have you never been a kid and just done something like, you've not always been an upstanding citizen when you were younger. That's not how you have a conversation about racism. You don't excuse that for white kids. And that's the problem. Too many people are always trying to excuse the actions of little children just because they're children. No. Like people have said, that's learned. Nobody comes out the womb racist. Nobody comes out the womb racist. That's learned from their parents or from somebody around them. And then all of a sudden, just because you're the Black kid, you're supposed to sit there and accept it. Like, oh, he's just a kid. No, that's not how that works. That's not how that works. And then it's like, y'all want to stand. And then that's the crazy part. Like I said, y'all always want Black women to stand in solidarity together. But why would I want to stand in solidarity with some people who actively do not care about me, who actively do not care about my lived experiences and invalidate them? Why would I want to stand next to you and do that kumbaya shit? I'll wait for a response. There isn't one. But all of a sudden we wrong. We wrong. And the same way that Black men hold Black women to certain standards, are we not allowed to ask for more from y'all without Black men turning the conversation into Black women love putting us into boxes and policing us? So y'all can say that we did this, that, and the third last Thursday, and that we need to stop acting like this and doing that, and y'all need to be classy and y'all need to do this. But when we go and give you a critique or we say something about you, all of a sudden it's y'all are policing. Y'all are boxing us in and that's not fair. Surely you can see the problem there. Surely you can see why that doesn't make a lick of sense. Surely. I get told Black women are always playing the victim. I get told that so often in my comment section, it's not even funny. It's always, and it's white men, and it's you Black clowns too. Always talking about Black women victimhood. Y'all are always acting like the victim. If I'm the victim in the situation, I'm the victim. Damn it. Did we ever think about that? Maybe, just maybe, when people are talking, and this is for the white men, maybe, just maybe, when Black people are talking about racism, maybe, just maybe, we are the victims to the system. Did it ever cross your mind? We're not experiencing America the way that you're experiencing it. Did it ever cross your mind? Hey, maybe they are. Maybe they are a victim. That's crazy. Anyways, back to the Black men. I get told Black women are always playing the victim. But are you not doing the exact same thing when you get into the comment section talking about y'all are always policing us and putting us in boxes and it's not fair and it's not fair. Are you not playing the victim in that scenario? All of a sudden, because I had one critique for you, but you got thousands of critique for women about how they should act and how they need to do this, that, and the third and their gender roles and all that stuff. So it's okay for you to say that. But the second a Black woman has something to say, the rules change. That's interesting. That's really interesting to me. So when Black women don't give you a response, you're not doing the exact same thing and playing victim, yes or no? It's quiet. It is. It's quiet. It is. I just needed to have a really serious conversation about that. I do. I really do. It's always Black. Like when you really think about it, a lot of times, a lot of hardships that Black women are enduring is at the hands of a Black man. But when we say that and bring that up, all of a sudden I'm policing me. Y'all are taking my voice. Y'all are trying to silence me. No, we're not trying to silence you. We're holding you to a standard. And when we ask you to act upon that standard and we have expectations and boundaries for you, all of a sudden it's, that's not going to work. No, because I'm being policed and I'm being silenced. It's not fair. That's interesting to me. Anyways, some final things for the podcast. Let's see. First of all, John Noble. First of all, I've been watching The Good Wife. Let's start there. I've been watching The Good Wife. I love it. I'm on like season 5 and I'm getting very nervous because I think that this show is going in a different place, a darker place than I thought. And I wasn't expecting it, but I'm excited to get in there to finish it up. It's been really fun to watch and to see, like, I won't say I like lawyer shows or crime shows because I don't particularly, but this show is interesting because I like how they intertwine politics into the stories and stuff, but also I just really enjoy the characters, and I think that the show actually, while I was trying to figure out whether or not the main character is a good wife, because the show's called The Good Wife, I was like, okay, well, is she a good wife? Like, what's going on? And upon discovering or looking for the answers to that question, I think that the show is actually more about, like, women empowerment and it being possible for you to have a career and to be a mother and to be a wife and like to just be more than just a wife and to be more than just a mother. And I really like that. I think that that's something that obviously people needed at that time, because I think the show came out in like 2008 and stayed on until like 2012. And even now, like watching the show is still a very important conversation. And I think it's so interesting to watch stuff back, because I always think like, oh, that was a really necessary story that needed to be told then. But a lot of times that story is still important for present day too. And like I said, I just think it's really important for women to feel that empowerment of being able to, of knowing that they can do all of the things. They can be successful in their career. They can be a good mother, and they can be a good wife. They can be all of those things. It doesn't have to be just one. And even if you do choose to be only one of those things, that's okay too. But yeah, I really like that. And John Noble is in the show. Or he's in a couple of episodes, and I really enjoy the episodes that he's in. And I honestly I'm going to put a picture of John Noble on the screen in case you don't know who he is, but he's in like one of my favorite sci-fi shows, called Fringe. And that's like a crime related show. It's honestly like probably like, wow. Like when I think about top TV shows that I've ever watched, it's definitely in my top 10 list. And I really enjoy Fringe. So if you've never seen it, you should definitely watch it. They go into a lot of like I forgot what kind of, they go into a lot of pseudoscience. And I think that's really cool. And they do like time traveling, and they do things that just aren't really possible. But I like the element of like kind of being able to like how they explain the theoretical science of the show. I think Fringe is an amazing show. Like I love that show so much. And John Noble, like I said, is amazing in that show, and he's even amazing in The Good Wife. And I love the way that his character, because that's not a spoiler, because I think the show been out for years, so don't do too much. But his character in the show passed away, and so whenever they talk about the character, he has ongoing like cases though. So the main character will have flashbacks of her conversations with him, and that's always, I feel like that's done so beautifully. But also, it just feels like anything that John Noble does is like done in like this fantastic, marvelous way, and like in a way that like you haven't really seen a character be shown before. And I love that he kind of plays like a kooky, sciencey character all the time. And I really like that. I feel like it works for him. But yeah, basically what I wanted to say there is that John Noble is amazing. So if you haven't watched Fringe, and you're looking for a show to watch, and you're kind of interested in science, because even if you're not interested in sciencey stuff, it's mostly like crime stuff that ends up relating into the science, and it's really interesting. But I also just love like sci-fi stuff. So I could just be giving a loser, but that is a TV recommendation. Other things on the final things to wrap up, we have Normani's new release, 119, I believe is what it's called. I heard it. I like it. Her new album's coming out in June. I'm super excited about that, because y'all know, if you're a long time listener to the podcast, you know that I have been waiting on that album for many years, and it's finally coming to that. I actually ended up getting on Spotify yesterday, and yeah, it was yesterday technically, because I haven't gone to sleep yet. It's like 6 a.m. But I got on Spotify, and there was this song that popped up, and Spotify was like, oh, we think you'll like this. And I clicked on it, and it was actually a really good song. And it's called You by Anna Margo. And I'm going to put a picture of the screenshot of the thing on here. The song's really good. I think she collaborated with Timbaland, and he's an amazing producer, and her voice is really great. I just like the song. I think it's really good. Spotify did this big one. I love Spotify suggesting a good song to me. Like, I'll never shut up about it. Then there's Perrie from Little Mix. I was a Little Mix fan because I went and saw Ariana Grande for my 16th birthday, in 2017, and they opened for her along with Victoria Monet, which honestly, looking back now, like being able to see Victoria Monet open for Ariana and then have Little Mix come out, and then me becoming a fan of Little Mix, because I knew a lot of the songs that they performed, and I was like, I low-key a Little Mix fan, and so then I came home and listened to their entire discography, and they became like the other girl group that I really liked, because I really loved Fifth Harmony, and then when they broke up, I was like, I still have Little Mix. And so anyways, but the Little Mix, they disband or are on hiatus. I don't really know how that works, but one of the ones, they released a song. Leanne also has music out, so that's really great. She's the black one. I love her down. Just twins. Anyways, but yeah, she has a song called Forget About Us, and I think it's really good. I like it. Sabrina Carpenter, y'all know I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. Sabrina Carpenter has a song out that's really hot on the charts. It's trending on TikTok. It's called Espresso. I love Sabrina Carpenter. I've been listening to her since she sang that theme song for Girl Meets World. And I just have been listening to her music for a really long time, and I think she's super talented. I have enjoyed watching her success over the past few years, and I'm really happy that she's finally getting like mainstream attention, because I think she's really worked really hard over the past few years, and I've just been wondering why she hasn't gotten any recognition, because she has an amazing voice, and I'm just really happy for her, honestly. Like watching artists that you've listened to for a while like start getting recognition, or getting the recognition that you think they've always deserved, is really great. Honeymoon Fades is honestly a really great song by her, so that's cool. And then we have Dua Lipa with her, I think this is her final single before her album comes out. It's called Illusion. I like it. It's cool. I'm really excited for her album that's coming out in May. I think it's coming out May 15th, 19th, something like that, but it's called Radical Optimism. And first of all, I love the concept of that, and I'm really excited for that album. I'm just excited for albums in general. And then Tori Kelly, I'm going to her concert later this year, and I'm super excited because I've been a really big Tori Kelly fan. I honestly started learning how to play the guitar from watching Tori Kelly videos, and I would just like come home from school and grab my little guitar, and I would just watch her play and try to figure out what the chords she was playing were, and I would just watch and learn from her and study her. And the same way I would do that with Ed Sheeran and Shawn Mendes a little bit, not really, but mostly just her and then Ed Sheeran. So yeah, that's been really cool, and I really loved that. And I've been listening to Tori Kelly for a while. My sister started listening to her a while, like years and years and years ago, and we heard her EP and it was good, and then her album came out and it was really great, and then her second album came out, and then she ended up making a gospel album that won her I think 2 Grammys, and then she released an EP over the pandemic called Solitude, and I really loved that. It was really great. And then she released another EP last year, I think, and it was really amazing. And then she released her self-titled album like 2 weeks ago, and I really enjoyed that album, and I really like it, and I'm happy that she is still making music, and I'm happy that she just sounds happy in the music, and I love it. And yeah, so I'm going to see her. So I've been listening to her music for a while, and I'm really excited to see her live. And yeah, this has been really great. I was really excited about this week's episode because, like I said, I had a lot of things to talk about, and I don't know, I'm just really proud of it. I'm definitely going to promote this one heavily. Like I said, I think it's going to be an interesting couple of months. But yeah, this was really nice and cool. And I guess I'm going to come back next week as always. New episode is always up at 7. It's actually 6:05 a.m. right now, so I have to definitely stop so I can download the audio, but that never takes very long. As for this YouTube video, fingers crossed this gets up by 5. If not, it'll be okay. But I do thank you and appreciate you guys so much for listening. And thanks for supporting, and come back next week. I'm always here on a Saturday. Bye.